All right, everybody, it is the Mena's Minutes. Yes, I am wrapping up Monday's show. We had obviously Kirk with his two dumb producers, Cullinane and Justin. And then we had obviously Brando and Blind Mike in there as the panelists. So one good, one bad. But let's go through some of my thoughts around today's show. I guess firstly, it's no surprise to me that someone like Mike, who has such low self-esteem, thinks I'm doing a bit about him leaving the show. As I've said many times, the show will continue. I'm not pretending that it's the end of the world, but clearly the people inside the show don't quite understand how much Mike means to us. And it's no surprise to me that Mike, who's so down on himself, who's happy to work for free, whose self-esteem is better than it was, but it's still probably not, it's not like he's an egomaniac. He's still, quite down on himself, I think, because he thinks it's a bit that we're all going to be upset that he's leaving. So anyway, um, that's my thoughts. It was great to have Mike in there. Now, there was a few things from today's episode. So, firstly, very strange around Cinema's family inviting Justin over on Sunday for what was it, cornhole. The whole thing's very odd. Firstly, if they wanted Justin to ask Kirk and the other KMS team, that's pathetic that Justin only told them on the day. How disrespectful. Justin is just not paying attention to the show now. Whether this girlfriend's made up or real, if she is made up, then his brain has gone to his penis. And I know there's not much of a brain, but whatever was there has gone to the tip of his penis now, and he's not concentrating on the show because you can't tell people the day of the party, do you want to come to the party? So that's the first thing, that either Justin was negligent in not telling them beforehand, or this is Cinema's family asking Justin, but maybe not wanting Kirk there, not for any other reason, but maybe because he's a big star, and I don't know. Maybe they just thought we'll ask Justin because he can pretend to be Cinema, and that'll make us feel better. And but overall, just very strange that Justin didn't tell them till the day. So that was very, very odd behavior. And then he went. Yeah, and then he told them anyway, very, very strange. So the other thing is, while we're on the producers, what is going on with the producers that they would not think that they had to do a show after the KMS basketball next week? Why does Kirk have to spoon feed them everything? Surely that's obvious that if basketball's on Monday night, you have to do a show the next day reacting to it, because that's what KMS is about. You can't wait till the Wednesday because by then there'll probably be 3 shows on the network reacting to it. So very strange that the producers wouldn't even be thinking about next week. It's not like the basketball games, weeks down the road. This is next week, and I hadn't even thought that, okay, when are we going to do shows because of the basketball? And of course, they haven't thought about who they're going to get in, but that's not too hard because it should be people on the team for those couple of days that you would get in. And but yeah, again, just no thought from the producers. Couple of other things on Cullinane. So again, peak levels of laziness today from Cullinane. So he brings up the fact that Taylor Swift has brought back all her music, I think, but he doesn't have just a cut of Kelly Keys crying about it, because that's what the funny thing was for Minute fans, was Keys bawling her eyes out on Twitter about Taylor Swift getting her music back. Wouldn't you just have a 10-second grab of her crying as a bit of a way into that story? But I guess that would mean preparation and forethought and caring about your job. The other one was Dave taking parenting advice from a complete stranger on Twitter. It sounds like child abuse to me. If you've got like colored lights signifying when a child can leave the room and when they can't, it is going to like fuck with their psychology. Like, just be a normal parent. And Cullinane, don't take advice from some idiot on the internet you've never met before. But typical of him. And those poor kids, life's already an uphill battle for them, considering the genes on their father's side. So they better get this sorted out pretty quickly. But the more thing is just Cullinane taking that weird advice about colored lights. I mean, you can imagine Cullinane's kids in a therapy session in a number of years, seeing a certain color and freaking out because it reminds me of how they tried to train him to sleep properly. So very, very strange. More stuff. Okay. While we're on the basketball, I've got a theory that Pat Ford is quiet quitting the KMS basketball team. He's hoping Kirk throws him out. And by just not showing up, that's what the young kids do these days. You just quiet quit. So I think that's what he's doing, because if he quits, it's going to look really bad. But if he's thrown out, he can just say, well, I missed a couple of trainings. My kid was vomiting up blood again, whatever it was that Kane revealed. And Kirk's the bad guy for throwing me out. So I think this is a ploy by Pat. He's staying up all night in spaces. He's back on. I don't know if he's back on the drink or not. I hope not. But it's very concerning. But this is what the younger generation do. They just quiet quit. He hasn't got the balls to tell Kirk he doesn't want to play, so he's just not going to turn up. And yeah, if I was Kirk, I would move him to the stats department. I've said privately to Pat and publicly now that I think Pat should join Kane in the stats department, because that department needs at least one person that can count. So we need Pat in there to be that person. So I'm hoping Pat relinquishes his duties as a player and he can join Kane on the bench and they can be the stats department. Well, a couple of terrible appearances from third chairs recently. Bio Dude, an all-time stinker on Friday. I talked about that in the Menace Minutes on the weekend. But Brando just stunk it up today. Nice guy, and he's fine, but that was boring Brando. He came in with the worst topics. He starts with Jake from Scranton, who no one knows, no one cares about, just the biggest loser, just a fucking idiot. And he thinks people on KMS want to hear about this guy. You're talking like Jake is so inside. It's not even network. It's like a network off the network. I mean, it's embarrassing. And so he brings that up as his first topic. Then he brings up socks with sandals, the most, I guess, what's the word? The most cliche topic. And it was just a terrible, I want to say terrible appearance for Brando, but it wasn't, because he was quiet for a lot of it, which is smart from him. He didn't have a lot to say, but he also didn't inject himself into every conversation. But his appearances are wild. I mean, this was a pretty bad one, and he's scared now. Unfortunately, he's just scared now after what happened in the past with Nurse Kim and all that. He's very scared. Now, if I'm Brando, maybe I don't announce on the show that my girlfriend is coming to the basketball game. After what happened with all the stuff on the internet and with his partner, I'm surprised he would then go and answer, say that on the show, the main show, that she's not going to be there. So she's going to be there. So yeah, very strange. I think everyone should be nice to her. Come on, she's like, all shit aside, let bygones be bygones. I've said Brando should break up with her, but he hasn't taken my advice. So let's just support Brando in this toxic relationship that he's in while it's still going on. And she's there to support him. Strange. She's there to support the manager. She doesn't even know he's not playing, I'm sure. But let's just be civil, Minna fans. I'm sure she's lovely. It's fine. Whatever happened, happened. But I thought it was very gutsy for Brando to bring it up on the main show. That's almost stupid. In fact, almost stupid. Like, I would have not told anybody that she's going to be there. But anyway, that's Brando. Terrible appearance. Good on him, though. He brought up Quantum Kirk. I'm really looking forward to that show coming back. We're going to do some Mike-specific episodes leading up to his imminent departure. So stay tuned for that. And last thing before I go, there seems to be a little issue in the Unnamed Show where a certain host sponsored and others not. So do I understand that, say, Dave Portnoy is sponsored for ad reads, Ryan Whitney is sponsored for ad reads, because there's been bits where obviously Dave does his ad reads, but now Kirk's saying to Whitney do ad reads, but therefore Kirk's not getting sponsored for the Unnamed Show. And I wonder if that's a financial thing. So um, obviously Whitney and Portnoy would be getting bonuses and money for those ads, whereas maybe Kirk's getting a small slice of it. And I just wonder if that's putting a bit of tension into that relationship. The fact that Whitney's getting a sponsor and Portnoy's getting a sponsor for that show, but Kirk's just doing it for free, basically. So keep an eye on that one, because there's just a little tension around the ad reads when they've been throwing to Whitney to do his ad reads. You can tell Kirk's just a bit annoyed about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's a bit, I watched the Bono. Sorry, I listened to Bono on Joe Rogan where he talked about this, and he said that the band decided when they started making music, their manager said, just divide it up between the four of you. Say the four of you wrote every song, and therefore you'll never have a problem. And 50 years later, you two are still together and have never really had a big breakup. So that's what happens when you do these things where people start getting greedy or being paid more than the others. It does build resentment. So we're starting to see that bubble away. All right. Well, that is it for this episode of Mena's Minutes. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll be back soon.